Hello.
Hello, hey Laura, how are you?
Good. How are you, Annie?
I'm doing really, really well. Thank you so much for giving us the honor, the pleasure of having you here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. The Laura is, for our families, we like to say that Laura is an amazing, amazing person, inspiring person. Um, she's a psychologist. Um, she's published some studies in some journals. She has done lots of research at the University of Texas. She has worked as consultant for Montessori schools. She, working with families with behavioral issues. She is the founder of a program called Mi Casa es tu Casa, which is extremely successful and attends lots of families in Austin, Texas. And she designed the curriculum. And this curriculum is basically, carefully designed to introduce or reinforce Spanish through music, sign language, dynamics that boost early childhood development, and also, besides all those wonderful things, she's an advocate of conscious parenting. And with that, she has this beautiful mission. I'm gonna quote her here. She says, "My mission is to change the way we raise kids, to raise a generation that is mindful, conscious about themselves, the world about them, sympathetic, caring, loving of themselves and everybody around them." Her mission is to help raise the best generation yet. Laura, this is very inspiring. All the knowledge that you acquired, studying, everything that you built with your successful business, and you use it all to help families. You help so many families. Your curriculum has inspired our curriculum from Melbsing, and we are always learning from you. You definitely are number one mentor. So seriously, thank you so much for all you do, for all your inspiration, and thank you for being here. So we'd like to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about your trajectory, that all coming from your heavy academic life, all your research, all the baggage, and what led you to build your business, to develop Mi Casa es tu Casa, the program and the curriculum.
It wasn't really something I ever imagined happening. It never crossed my mind. This is what I was going to do when I grew up. Really, one thing led to another, and I believe that is typically the path of how things are born in the entrepreneurship world. But basically, as you're saying, I was very deep into the academia and to the academic life. All I wanted to do was research in health psychology and that connection between your thoughts and your health. As you said, I did some research. I published some material. I came to the U.S. pursuing. I'm a clinical psychologist in Venezuela, and I came to the U.S. pursuing a PhD. And halfway through it, life completely changed for me. I became a mother, and it was the biggest blessing of my life. And it just changed everything in my life, including who I was and who I am. And because I've always had this very strong passion for research and knowing more, as a mother, I started researching about early childhood development and babyhood and parenting and how I could be the best support for my own kid. And through him, through motherhood, letting go of all my academia stuff, I started discovering this new world of interacting or interactive classes with babies and all the benefits they had and all the music and the language. And living in the US, it is very, very important for me that my child is able to speak my language, which is Spanish. It's the language of my heart. So I started researching how to troubleshoot with that, how to raise him bilingual, and one thing led to another, and I ended up working in this place that had a music class in Spanish for babies because I wanted to bring my child there. I became a teacher eventually, and then at some point the owner decided to sell the business, So I agreed I was gonna buy the business from her. At the end, everything fell through, but my husband and I were already kind of caught into financial decisions to buy this business. So I bite the bullet and created my own. And it was a blessing because then I could do so much more that I was always fantasizing. Oh, we could do this, we could add this, and now I finally made it myself, and it's very rewarding.
Wow, it is very, very interesting. Um, so this program, this whole curriculum you developed, right? And this is amazing. Could you tell us a little bit of the structure of your curriculum, the emphasis of your curriculum?
Yeah. So it is a program I developed with the help of amazing people and very talented people. We have a genius of music, a music composer for children that's a genius from Argentina. We have you, who you are also a genius for music.
Thank you.
It's the work, the effort of a team. But at the end, the program I direct it, or every song that we write, I am very careful directing where that song is going to be, because it needs to be, number one, it needs to be easy to follow. It needs to have a content that is worth learning for the language, which is Spanish in this case.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be easy to remember, and it also, if possible, it needs to have an element that will either facilitate parenting or facilitate the relationship between the parent and the child. So there's a million components that go into every single song,
Mm-hmm.
and then every single song into a collection.
That's really nice. So, how does the all of this apply to the program? What is the structure of your program?
So the program is structured to run by season. So in 1 year, you would start with winter, and then spring, then summer, and then fall. And every single season is going to have a different collection. We're in our 5th production out of 9 collections, hopefully more. So every time you come for a different session, it's a different collection.
Mm-hmm.
And every session lasts anywhere between 8 weeks to 12 weeks.
Okay.
Parents usually sign up for a full session, and then they come one day at one time, take an hour class, and then they come the next way, and so on for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And they also take home the music. They take a CD. We're in the middle of developing an app right now, so they have the music in their phones like everybody does nowadays. And they also get a book with all the lyrics in Spanish and in English, so they can start on their own doing some work at home.
That's really nice. Could you tell us a little bit about how a class looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, can I invite you to take a peek
Yes.
to one of our rooms? There's a
That
class
would be
going on
nice.
right now.
That'd be nice.
So usually we'll sit on the floor in a circle very close to our children.
Mhm.
And children are kind of very close to their parents, feeling their movements, feeling the vibration of their voices when they sing. And it's kind of a very beautiful community.
Nice.
Whoops. So sorry. Community interaction. Let me see if I can cut a class right now. Give me 1 second.
So you're at the studio right now, right?
Yes, I am at the studio here in Mi Casa Tu Casa, and there's a class going on. See, they're all sitting in a circle. They're like, all the children are very close to their parents. There's a teacher leading. There's a screen with the songs in Spanish, so the non-fluent parents can understand or can follow. There's children who are always kind of exploring the area. Everybody's kind of doing their own little thing.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful
So that's how a
community.
class looks like. Yeah.
What a beautiful community. It's really nice to see people getting together to make music with their kids.
It is so amazing, and there's so many friendships that get built through this program. It's really, really beautiful.
That's awesome. So I see that there are parents, caregivers that are participating in the class. So they don't just go in there and just throw the kids there and tell the teacher, okay, go.
do your magic.
Yeah, I saw that they're there playing, they're involved in the activities. So what is the
That's
role? Yeah, uh-huh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That is what is the role of the parents in these classes? What is how important is their engagement there?
Extremely important. It is very common for parents to kind of like, they even ask, do I need to be in the room? I'm like, yes, you need to be in the room. I always tell the parents, it's funny because we don't get educated through it. It's not something most people know about, but the interaction with the main caregiver has no competition for a child. A child's brain is wired to survive, and the way they survive is by observing the main caregiver, learning from them, and imitating them. So if the caregiver is kind of sitting in the back, not interacting, not doing anything, that's what the child's going to learn. The child's going to learn to not interact in a social environment, not get out of their comfort zone, not push, not try, not learn. But if the parents are there kind of getting, trying new things, experimenting with their voice, experimenting with their rhythms, getting uncomfortable, trying, all of that, what a wonderful example they're setting for their children, which is, hey, I value this language, I value this interaction, I value these people. The message immediately for the child is, oh, we should value this language, we should value this interaction, we should value these people. And if my parent is invested in it, this must be important. And so there's like a very different message that gets sent to the brain for the child when there's parent interaction. And also beyond that, there's research to support that the parents' voices, much more than anybody else's voices, has a very deep impact in the way the brain develops. It is not the same to listen to a stranger now and then than to listen to your own parent, who has a very strong impact in your brain to develop a language and to develop a certain skill.
Wow. This is very powerful. And I imagine that because the parents have such an impact in their development, in their learning of the language, you encourage them to continue the learning at home, right? Because that's where the magic is gonna keep happening, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is really a commitment from the families. I always tell them, coming once a week is great, but it's not enough. Especially to those parents who are really, really committed. They always come and ask, hey, how can I support my child at home? What else can I do? Because I keep telling them once a week is great, but again, it's not enough. So I always tell them, the ones that are starting, I tell them to kind of go little by little, use one word at a time, maybe one word a day or one word even a week is more than nothing. And the ones that are really into seriously having an impact and developing another language for their children, then I highly recommend that they create discipline at home, and they set a specific time every day to... I usually, at this age, I encourage them to use music, because music really gets rid of so many resistances and just opens the brain for everything. So I encourage them to take the music home, listen to it at home, and play it with their children, not just listening passively, but sitting with the child, singing the songs, going through the vocabulary in the book, and moving with them, rocking to them. Even if they're not pronouncing well, that's okay, because the fact that they're modeling that interaction through music and through the language is what makes the greatest impact. Like, children will fly and pass the level of Spanish that the parents have if the parents get involved early enough.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I hear this and I remember so many parents say, "Oh yeah, my child only watches cartoons and only watches TV in Spanish, or here in Brazil they only watch it in English, so they're gonna learn so much." And we believe that these things have a positive impact, but how is it compared to the parents actually actively participating in their learning?
Night and day. There's a study that I really, really like, where they took babies they study babies from 3 months all the way up until 12 months. And to make it short, at the end of the day, they had a group just watching literally what you're saying, like watching a program in Mandarin. And then they had a different group having an interaction of 10 minutes, not even an hour, 10 minutes per day with a human, um, with a Chinese woman that came to sing to them just by 10 minutes. And the difference over a period of 3 months was ginormous. Like the way the brain reacted to different sounds that were only present in Mandarin and not in English were way more developed in the children that were having a human interaction. Wow. Versus the ones that were listening to the TV. In fact, the ones that were listening to the TV stopped hearing the sounds, even though it was the exact same program with the exact same lady, exact same music. But the difference was a screen versus a real person. Wow. We humans are wired to learn through contact, physical contact. And there's nothing in this world that will ever be able to compensate or take the place of human contact. Really, the impact for the brain is night and day, and it has been studied and proven in research over and over and over. It is great. I do encourage parents that if they're going to do screen time, to please do it in the target language, because it's a waste of time if they do it in the common language. Common language will happen anyways. Yeah. But if there's screen time, please do it in the language you want to develop. But beyond that, you have to put the effort in a human, intimate way. The way you relate to your children is the things that will have the greatest impact in their growing process.
This is so important, so important. Now, you have a program. I saw little kids in your program. What are the ages that of the kids who come to your program?
We have children all the way from 6 weeks old to 5 years old. Nice. Yeah, it is like all the first 5 years of life is what we're really focusing on.
That's really wonderful. And why do you focus on this age?
Well, there's two main reasons. If we look at the hard skills that are developing in their brains, that is truly the most ideal time to learn a language is literally from birth, and literally every 6 months that window shortens and shortens and shortens and shortens until at the age of 3 or 4 there's certain sounds that you can't be able to listen anymore because your brain wasn't wired to understand these sounds. This is coming also from the same research that I was sharing with the Mandarin. And there's also not only the brain functions, but psychologically, if a child is exposed to a certain language from birth, it's kind of normal. This is what we do. This is part of my life. This is my normal. But if you raise a child in one language for several years, and then you try to introduce a second language at the end, even at the age of 3, which is still super young, they start fighting back. Like, hey, this is not what I speak. This is different. This is uncomfortable. I'm going to fight it back. And it's a whole other struggle. So I highly encourage everybody to either interested in bilingualism or multilingualism to start with all languages as soon as possible. There's this misconception that children are going to get confused or that it's going to affect the native language. Not at all. Our brains are wired to understand different languages from the moment we're born, and that wiring is going to lessen and lessen as we grow. So. Yeah.
In fact, there's even when they're born, they already start manifesting some preference, right, to the language they heard in the womb. So
absolutely, children will turn to the languages they recognize and will not react to the ones they don't recognize. Babies, 6-month-old babies, even 3-month-old babies. So you cannot underestimate how powerful the brain of a baby is for languages.
But the kids who start in your program, for example, and they start from the very beginning, you can definitely see this difference, right? When they're older.
Night and day. We have, talking specifically about some children that started with us when they were 6 months, 6 weeks old. They were, very, very little. very tiny. Like literally, all they did in class was being in their mother's hand. That's all you need to do. Seems like they're doing nothing, but in reality, there's so much going on in their brain. So they started when they were 6 weeks old, and some of them are 3 years old right now. Those are the children that are leading the class, literally. They know exactly what to do. They are happy to teach the other ones. This boy comes to my mind. He is growing in a household where they speak English and a different language, but not Spanish. However, the kid, when he comes, he understands everything that I'm saying. He responds to questions in Spanish.
Nice.
I mean, when you respond to a question, you're understanding the question.
Yeah.
And mother tells me that when they're outside, going out and about with their lives, the second they listen to Spanish, first, when he was like a year and a half, when he listened to Spanish, he started dancing because he related Spanish to music. And now that he's almost 3, now he's understanding and kind of replying or kind of interacting with Spanish. It's really marvelous because mommy doesn't speak Spanish. Like the only Spanish they get is from these classes. And just because of the persistence of coming through a long period of time, it's magical what happens. And this is for the language. For the musical development, it's also beautiful to see because these children, music is such a norm in their lives that the second they hear music anywhere they are, they start rocking, they start singing, they start enjoying life in a way that very few of us know how to. It's just really beautiful. The magic that happens when you start very early.
That is amazing. So you see these benefits in their language development and the music development. Can you tell us a little bit of the benefits that they receive in their cognitive, motor skills, some of these benefits that they have from the program as well?
Yeah, so there's a million things we do, and I can talking for an hour, but I can give you an example. We use a lot of sign language. It is to empower children to be able to communicate before they can coordinate their vocal cords, but it's also with the intention of developing fine motor skills. We were about to use a song this spring that is with castanets. It's called Toca que toca ta 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 ta. It's a castanet. So when you're doing this activity for 10 minutes and everybody around is doing it with you, guess what you're going to start doing? And so it's really important to develop this ability, the pinching ability, to later be able to write. So there's a ton that we do for fine motor skills, like beyond language and beyond music. There's a ton going on for early childhood development to be able to develop these skills that are crucial for later stages in life.
That's wonderful. And it's interesting that you have a program that is helping develop language and is helping develop music. But would like to know, is there a reason why music is used as being the main motivator, the main thing that you use to teach language? Why is music so important to teach language?
There's been, since the MRI machine was created, there's been all sorts of studies. Like people have put people in there doing all sorts of things to see what happens to the brain. It's really fascinating as a psychologist to observe.
Nice.
And so far, the only element in the whole world, the only activity in the whole world that has been able to engage and kind of light up every single part of the brain has been music. This tells us that music is an element that really unifies the brain and opens up 1,000 paths to acquire new languages. So it is way easier to learn anything through music because of that power it has over our brains. There's also another study with babies, that newborn babies, 0 to 3 days old. And again, they put them in MRI machines, see what happens. And they asked the parents to talk to them. And what was really interesting is that what happened in their brain was not language processing, was music processing. So literally when the parents were talking, children were listening to music, were processing music. It's really beautiful. What this tells us from the psychological point of view and the developmental point of view is we humans rely on musical abilities to later be able to develop language. Without music, there's no language. So music is really the main way of developing a language, and it also helps kind of developing the ear to those little sounds that pertain to phonemes that pertain to only one particular language. And that's all the scientific reasons. Now, for even a more psychological point of view, music really opens you up, relaxes you, and makes the activity more enjoyable. It kind of opens you up for experience, lessens your stress, puts you in a better mood. On itself, it's reinforcing because it makes you segregate things that feel good, like endorphins and dopamine and all that stuff. So it's really, you cannot go wrong with music. It's self-fulfilling. Like, you're learning and then you feel good about it and then you learn more. It's the best tool so far that exists in the world to learn anything, especially language.
And the most amazing thing that I see in all of it is that both music, both language, and the way they are combined can be processed from the very beginning. This is what is the most fascinating thing. Many people think that later is the time to get them to study another language. Later is the time to get them to learn an instrument because they think learning an instrument is the beginning of everything. But we see that their brains are processing everything even before they're born, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this
I
is
always,
fascinating.
when I'm asked when is the best time to teach a language, when is the best time to expose them to music, I'm like, since 20 weeks in utero, because that's when the ear starts developing. The earlier, the better. It really makes a huge difference, yes.
That's amazing. And the a final thing we'd like to ask you is something so important that we see in your program. This mission that you have of going beyond teaching the language, beyond teaching the music, the sign language, focus on childhood development, of having this mission of teaching conscious parenting. This mission of raising the best generation yet, like you say. What are some of the ways that you implement this in your activities, in your classes, in your songs, to inspire the parents to become better parents? And how do you think this is so important for our society?
Oof! Again, another 3-hour conversation. Well, number one, the reason we focus on 0 to 5 is because that is the window. It's a very short window. If you think that we live 80, 90 years, you have 5 years to raise a person who is able to listen to themselves, acknowledge their own emotions, process their emotions, and take control over them without lashing out, without blaming others, kind of become a conscious person, trust yourself, trust your inner voice, all of that, and understand that you are worth everything, that you're perfect as you are, that you don't need to fulfill anybody's needs. That window is so short.
Yeah.
And it happens between 0 and 5. And I truly believe that if we were able to tap into the window and help parents become more conscious, the impact in the society in future generations is going to be huge. Because most of us go into parenting kind of not knowing what we're doing and tumbling around, and the truth is, in 2020 there's 1,000 resources to help us be better parents, and that nobody has the right answer, but there are answers that right out there that we can seek. And the mission with this program is, in every single collection, is so important to us that in every single collection of music that we have, the main theme always talks about following your heart, listening to your inner voice, and trusting that that is correct. There's another one that's called Light, that talks about, when you feel the most broken, that is a good opportunity to let the light inside of you shine, because we're made out of love, we're made out of light, and you are light no matter how broken you feel. And those are the messages that we want to convey to the parents, because they're the main influencers in the children. And we also believe that even though children are little and they might not understand the complexity of these messages, it is extremely important to start talking about it from very early and exploring these themes, because then they grow with the notion of being conscious. At the end of the day, it's all being conscious. The more conscious you are, the more at peace you are with yourself, and the better person you can be to yourself and to others around you.
True.
So the way we implement this is through our songs in a way, but also we influence parents in our classes by modeling our behavior. When something difficult happens with a child, immediately I go down and I talk to them from my heart into their heart in a respectful way, in an understanding way, acknowledging and then correcting if correction is necessary, but never from the point of view of you're wrong, I'm right. It's let's do this together. Let's explore this together and see what's best for everybody. And by me doing that, parents are observing that. It's a new way of understanding, oh, this is actually a way I can relate to my child, and I see that my child really responded really great to that. I'm going to try it next time at home. And every single opportunity we can, which is something that surprises the parents, it's a feedback that we've been getting, thankfully, positive feedback is, hey, I signed up for a music baby class, and I came back with parenting tools. And that's really great, and they're excited about it. Because again, parenting is so hard. We need all the support we can get. So we use every opportunity we have to send a message to the parent, to allow them to come in this moment and be present with their children, to talk about early childhood development, to talk about what's the best way to communicate with your child, to not get them triggered. When you're feeling triggered, what is it on you that is being triggered? Like, there is music, there is singing, there is dancing, there is fun, there's maracas, there's tambores, there's everything. But there's also so much parenting and love engraved in each class.
That is very, very powerful, and we're so grateful to have people like you who are so dedicated to create something that will not only help in their development, but it will help them become better people. It will help shape the future. You're using all these things to influence better members of our society. And it's wonderful that how music can inspire this change as well. How it's awesome to see how you were able to connect all these things in a simple way that parents and even children can understand. And thank you for using all your knowledge, all your talent, everything that you have to bless society with what you have. Thank you so much for doing that, and thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you, Annie. It would really be impossible without an amazing team, and I really thank you for all the efforts you've made to support us as well.
Well,
thank you.
It is my pleasure. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day there at the school.
Thank you.
With those kiddos.
I'm listening, like all this time I've been listening to like the drums.
It's still going on?
Yes.
Do you mind showing us just one last time?
Absolutely.
It was so nice.
Goodbye.
Oh, they are.
The way we think about goodbye is that we sing a goodbye song, and then we get the guitar really close to every single child, so they can kind of play with the guitar. We say their names. We say it was nice to see you, and that is that.
That's really nice. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annie. Bye.